Facing the forced starvation of our nation, a life of servitude to feed the fat cats while they stroke the fat bellies and introduce bedroom tax. Not enough one-bedroom flats, micro-attacks, banks selling arms and laundering cartels cash. The EU robbing 10%, even though it won't help the economy or make a dent. They're squeezing folk to live in a tent. The system bent, and they're lying to us about how the money's being spent. Facing everyday life with strength and conviction. Half of my street is now facing eviction. It's panning into Orwell's prediction. Division of community and racist friction. Earth's minerals in your iPhone. Sky full of drones, test tube clones. The lights are on, but nobody's home. We told you this was coming, but your eyes were closed. Tony Blair's on his way to Bohemian Grove, and fuck Israel's map to the road. The CIA created Al-Qaeda, stealing the opium and coke, installing the puppet leader. Indoctrination, lied to in school by a teacher, touched up by the child molester preacher. Cities in flames amongst the riots. I stand with those who stand defiant. Arab Springs, rebels answering the phone when Donald Trump rings. I'm scared to see what the next 20 years brings. Are we in the Matrix or in a game like The Sims? Will I be trapped behind the fence with the Crims?
In this place, filled with empty space.
Our world is broken, the northern hemisphere's about to be frozen. Coastal erosion, inner city corrosion, nuclear reactor explosion, the world's stinking. Hearts and minds are sinking, time to live on Mars is what Draz is thinking. The forces of evil are linking through 3D TV that's got you all blinking. No food left after this, I'm gonna have to eat my neighbour. You're next, I'm just hungry, it's not cause I hate ya, it's cause your music sucks and I don't really rate ya. Hope you sleep under the bullshit that you read in the paper. I got a sled with 2 huskies, scalps on my elbows and knees, across the Atlantic on a pair of skis. Necklace of teeth like beads, tent made from whale bones and reeds. As I go back to the Ice Age, reverse history's page. Kill or be killed is all the rage. I'll never have to worry about minimum wage, just survival. Kill your rival with a sniper rifle, tower the land like Eiffel. Building fat will be vital, keep adrenaline in a needle to combat bites that are lethal from stray rabid humans that'll eat you. You best cut them down before they see you. Red eyes is what they're seeing you through, like rabbits with myxomatosis. Hypnosis, TV's giving you psychosis. You'll become brainwashed and kill the one that's closest. I've been written off by a bullshit fictional blacklist, and now I'm looking for a tribe to come back with. Yes, in this place filled with empty space. And it's a show run by the demonic, xenophobic, despotic. While they view you like you're microscopic. The Ice Age is coming, people. Everybody head for the tropics. Coming to the end of the Mayan prophecy. Space rock's about to smash your property. Board up your doors. Hydroponic in your attic to grow your own broccoli. Blue tongue BSE, foot and mouth. Microparasites coming through the vents in your house. Yes, this is the Task Force, World Without Love instrumental. This is Draz on the mic. This is a remix of 2 songs from my first and second album. You can find me on Medicine Media UK, Draz16 on Twitter. Let's roll into the show. Environment and food production. Quite a serious one this tonight. I want to welcome all my listeners, old and new. I want to welcome you who are aware, the conscious few, and thank you. And I'm here to follow through with what I say I'm going to do. Welcome to those who are tuning in for the first time to see what my show is all about. Welcome to my regulars who are seeking solace, those who are seeking knowledge and inspiration in my words. And I hope that I don't fearmonger you too much, but I'll give you food for thought, make you consider the other side of the coin, make you see into the corners of the tesseract, the corners that are disguised and hidden by the system of control, which is trying to censor what I say, but you cannot control me and you cannot censor my opinion, because I will find a way to enlighten people whatever you do, and that is a warning for you. And this show is a lockpick, so put down the bolt cutters and I'll help you pick that lock. We'll pick the lock together. and we'll arrange for a contact on the other side of this prison wall to drive us away, for only as a collective can we achieve and believe. Only in unity are we strong. Only in linking arms can we bring about change. The mind of a child is where the revolution begins. So put aside what you know, because what you know is provisional. Revolutionize yourself to be a better person. Be the change you seek. Don't complain if you aren't prepared to do anything about it. Saying all this, I hope I don't offend anyone tonight, because this is only food for thought. And you know, everyone who knows me knows that I'm pro-choice. Pro-choice as in, like, you know, do what you want as long as you're not hurting anyone. That's fine. Some of this is from fact. Some of it's opinion. Some of this is based on experience. Some of it's from research. And some of it's just ideas that I'm bouncing around. So please don't jump down my throat when I say certain things. Listen to the end of the show and then consider it, and we'll have a solid, rational, adult discussion by the end of it. So based on this, let's roll into the topic for the week, environment and food production. Now we get the disclaimer out of the way. So the first thing I want you to do while I tell you a story is first thing I want you to do while I tell you a story is to close your eyes and picture the forests as far as the eye can see. Trees covering mountains. Giant beasts roam the land. A giant ground sloth munches from leaves hanging from a branch. Mammoths trumpet to the herd. Bees the size of your hand bumble around in the pollen with a smile on their fuzzy little faces. Trees everywhere, so big they go out of eyesight from the bottom. The air rich with oxygen. In a cave, a group of upright monkeys huddle together for warmth. Yet to master tools or fire. They chew berries found on the ground. As pack leader yawns, the rest of them join him. They wake up in the morning to see a saber-toothed tiger in their cave. Their hairs stand up on end to try and make them look bigger. The tiger backs away. They chase him. They become the first cursorial pack. Pack leader picks up a stone and throws it. Takes out the tiger. The tiger falls. The pack approach. Alpha male looks at the stone. The pack dip their fingers into the blood of the tiger, sniffing the tiger blood, and then they taste it. The pack go wild, screaming, tasting a first thirst for the blood of another animal. Upon returning home, the baby monkey sits around rubbing a stick against another. Sparks light up the dry twigs on the cave floor, and boom, fire begins. Suddenly, that tiger carcass smells awesome on the fire. Now, I'm not saying this all happened overnight in one go. This is our kind of perception of evolution. I just, for podcast purposes, we're on a limited 45-minute time scale, so I kind of had to shorten it down a bit, but you get the idea. Now we skip forward a few thousand years, and the toxic smell of smoke mixed with burning flesh fills the summer air. Barbecues everywhere. All those millions of years later, the descendants of those monkeys are consuming every living thing on this planet. More so in China, where they will eat anything that moves. We're taking more than we need, and we're throwing the rest into a giant hole in the ground until one day that Mount Everest of trash is going to collapse and cause a tsunami that washes man back into the ocean where they belong. If you're already lost at this point, it's probably best that you and your amoeba brain should just go back to worrying about your Snapchat filter and how big Kim Kardashian's arse is, alright? So is climate change real? Well, of course, there's no denying that it's going on, but what percent of it is natural and what is man-made? That's open for debate. Are we suffering global warming? No, I don't think we are. Not from where I'm sitting and looking out my window. It's bloody freezing and it's snow in March, which we haven't had for a long time. But the planet heats up and cools down naturally through what's called precession of the Earth, which means the angle of the North Pole moves away from the sun. So the northern hemisphere gets colder. Now, during the Viking period, the precession was on the opposite side, on its angle, and it was a lot hotter than it was now, and people flourished. Or as David Icke would say in his cynical voice, is that from all the turbocharged horse and carts that they had? I don't think it was. However, you can't deny that burning fossil fuels and cutting down rainforests, dumping uranium, strip mining and filling the ocean with plastics and chemicals isn't seriously pissing Mother Nature off. She wants to wipe this termite hill from her skin because we're biting her and itching her all over. So most of you would have seen the turtle in the ring of beer can loops. Some of you might know that the Great Barrier Reef is officially dead. So one of the biggest living organisms on this planet is now dead. And it was quite sad. When I went there, I was expecting to see the Great Barrier Reef that I'd seen in documentaries and TV, and lots of colours and animals and whatnot, and it was just the skeleton of the Great Barrier Reef, and I was quite upset. And I didn't see any of the pond life or any of the sharks or any of that. It was gone. So we're cutting down 200,000 football pitches of forest a day. Now, can you picture that in your mind? If you were to close your eyes right now, can you imagine what 200,000 football pitches look like? You can't, can you? I could probably picture 50 or so football pitches in my mind, but to try and imagine 200,000 of them in a day, that's how much forest is going missing. And we're doing that for paper and wood, and to farm produce, and to put cattle on it, and to grow biofuels for cars. Factory farms can be seen from space in the form of a green toxic lake of effluent in the land of gluttony to feed fat Texan people, while millions of people on the other side of the world are dying from starvation. Companies like Nike and the suppliers of Primark are working slaves for $1 a day, working 3 days continually to make clothes, and most of which doesn't last or doesn't get purchased. Clothes that we don't really need. So me, I'll wear my clothes until they stink and fall off me. This is not because I'm a peasant. Yeah, I can afford to go to the shop and buy more clothes if I want to. But when I'm wearing those trainers that are made in China, made in Vietnam, made from animal products, made from produce that's come out of the earth, that somebody worked hard to grow, that Mother Nature worked hard to grow, I will wear them trainers until they are unwearable anymore, out of respect for the people that made them and respect for this planet, and the thought that those trainers are going to go in a landfill somewhere. So I'm going to get the most out of them, whether they be 20 quid or 120 quid, it makes no difference to me. Have some value for the things that you buy. Think more carefully about where you buy them. Okay? Companies are building electronics that are planned to be obsolete, so that you have to buy another one. Computers now, TVs, phones, they're the prime example of planned obsolescence. So this means it's being built to purposely break down, so that you have to keep buying it. What would happen if a company made a product that is going to last forever? Then they don't continue to make a profit, do they? Because you won't have to go back to them and buy another product in the near future. Alright? So I'll go into my local supermarket, and it really upsets me to see them removing the food that looks good but nobody wants it. Schools, hospitals and care homes don't always get to eat that food. There are some supermarkets that do fair share, which is fair enough, but it's not enough. Okay, maybe lower the prices. You know, I like steak, but am I going to go and buy every piece of steak that's got 30% off? No, not just because I can't afford it, but I don't have the money to store it. The space to store it. So what would be the purpose in that? Am I going to round up everybody in my area, take them into the supermarket and go, look, all these steaks are going to go in the ground. Animals died for this. Buy this steak. No. Is it going to make any difference? Then the supermarket's going to look at their purchases and think, well, you know, we sold all these steaks. Let's go and buy a load more. Let's fill the shelf needlessly with all these steaks. Okay? We're messing with the genetics of plants that are then contaminating the genetics of the natural strains. So GM seeds with suicide genes that don't produce another seed at the end of their life cycle when they're harvested. This is what a suicide gene is. And in the United States now, Monsanto pretty much own all of the rights to suicide genes, and they're trying to cut out the natural seeds. So they're going to prevent natural seeds from being sold. And when we leave the European Union, genetically modified seeds and Monsanto are going to move to the United Kingdom. Now they make these seeds to say bugs won't eat them, they'll last longer. No, they've got all these reasons, but it ain't been proven that genetically modified food is actually good for you. That we don't know. It's only a recent thing. We don't know if it's going to kill people off quicker, whether it is good for you or not. There's no proof for it. Okay, we're destroying sea life with a continent-sized heap of floating plastic. We're dragnetting the ocean floor, making it look like a post-apocalyptic scene. Whales and sharks are now half the size of what they were 100 years ago, and radioactive fish with 3 eyes and both sexual organs are swimming around the ocean. Shark fin hunting, which is just disgraceful, what the Japanese do, where they catch a shark and they cut its fins off and they throw it back in the ocean with no fins while it's still alive. What kind of sick people would do that? What a waste of shark, firstly. Not that I agree with hunting sharks. While I was in Australia, there was a shark attack on a surfer, and the Australian government decided, well, let's just cull them all of them, not just great whites, anything that's shark related. And even the surfers were annoyed. Why would you do that? You're affecting the ecosystem. Why would you want to do that to them? So only the blind and ignorant are going to deny the things that I'm saying. Those who just want to switch off and live their short, meaningless lives with no concern for their children or their children's children or the future of this planet, that have no conscience about the way that we're killing this planet bit by bit. Little nips here and little nips there, taking bits off Mother Nature when we think that we can't do anything about it. But we as a people, we as a collective, have the ability to do something about it, to make those changes. Because if we don't try and make those changes, then we're just letting the people in control do what they want. Okay? We're facilitating the death and 1,000 cuts of this planet. 1,000 cuts, for any of you that don't know, is what the Native Americans used to do to people, where they would give you 1,000 tiny little cuts until you bled out slowly from all of them, not from pain. And that's what we're doing to this planet. It's the death of 1,000 cuts. So I'm going to get into the touchy part now. Please don't jump down my throat or come and complain at me or kill me, alright? Vegans. Now I'm on the fence, and don't jump down my throat. Please hear me out, right? Meat production. Well, animals are force-fed and pumped on steroids and murdered en masse. And this I disagree with. Factory farming and the way that it's done, I disagree with. There must be a more humane way to kill them. Am I conscious of it when I enjoy a steak or a nice bit of chicken breast? Yes, of course I am. I'm not disconnected from where my food comes from. I don't go into the supermarket and look at that piece of meat in that plastic wrap and think that it just grew in that plastic wrap. I'm aware that that was once an animal. Does it upset me? Yes. Is it going to stop me? Probably not. I like milk, eggs and cheese, but I'll tell you this, I'll never waste a mouthful, and I refuse to eat fast food. I disagree with the ethics of KFC, with their chlorine chicken and the way that they battery farm chickens and force feed them with a tube down the neck. I won't eat McDonald's. I won't eat none of the fast food branches unless I'm forced to go in there for some reason. I would rather starve than go in the likes of McDonald's, KFC and Burger King. And I admit I've eaten Subway in the past, but it was out of convenience that it was near to work. Alright. Like I said earlier, I'm pro-choice, and I like a lot of vegan cuisine, and I respect your values, but like a lot of vegans, respect my choice not to be vegan. Don't be militant about it. I'm not a murderer. I'm not murdering animals. Alright, you're getting confused between meat eaters and meat production. Okay, you do what you want, I'll do what I want. I agree we're fucking up the planet. Okay, we're in agreement about this. We're in agreement that the way that farming works is probably not working very well. Okay, but one thing I noticed with a lot of vegans, not all of them, is that they're constantly going on about it. Yeah, I'm a vegan, and they're choosing every opportunity to talk about it. Had a friend last year who was into it, and she just didn't shut up about it constantly. Everything was angling towards how she's a vegan. Alright, Yet I've had a vegan friend before who just never mentioned it, never brought it up. You know, you would never know that she was. She looked healthy, healthier than your average vegan. She was sound about it, and she informed me on a lot of things that I wasn't aware of. And she wasn't militant, which I like that about her. And she's one of the most intelligent people that I've ever met. Yet there's some vegans that really, really irritate me. Okay? Pro-choice, I'm pro-choice, okay? Vegetarians who eat fish and say that fish aren't conscious and don't count, fuck you. Because I tell you what, every living thing on this planet has a consciousness, down to fungus, plants and insects. Okay, we're in a symbiotic relationship, in a circle of consumption. Alright, I'll enjoy my steroid pumped chicken while you enjoy your pesticide sprayed salad and cancer inducing soya products, okay, grown in chemical fertilizers that are poisoning the water table and pesticides that are killing bees. Alright, so don't think for a minute that it's a perfect solution with what you eat. Now, I'd say I'm fairly healthy, I have a balanced diet. There's times when I go vegan and vegetarian for a good clean out. Alright, I'm a long distance runner, and when I've been at long distance running events, the vegan running team put me to shame. Okay, so I'm on the fence with this, I'm backwards and forwards. But anthropologists can draw a direct link to when apes started getting smarter because they're eating animal proteins and mollusks and fish. You can actually see where the increase in brain size went from them eating complex proteins, and then boom, we've got the pyramids. Okay, consider this, the system of control. This is just a conspiracy. I didn't hear this till the other day, but my mate says, what about that the system of control wants to poison us one way or another, or make you a vegan and shrink your brain down and then fry your balls with microwaves, i.e. your phone, in your pocket, so that they can control the population a bit easier if you're dumbed down. Which I'd never looked at it like that. Look at the bigger picture. That's what you got to do. Look at the bigger picture, not just the microcosm, not just the macrocosm. Look at the macrocosm around all of it. All right. So working in restaurants really opened my eyes to what we throw away needlessly. The old cafe that I used to work in used to throw about 50 sandwiches away on a night time instead of feeding homeless people. So I said, all right, well, I'll take the sandwiches out and I'll feed the homeless people in the city centre. Oh, you can't do that because they might sue us if they get sick. No, whatever. So then it was, all right, well, I'll just take them a bit earlier then. Ones that are not going to go out of date, but you're throwing them away anyway. Oh yeah, but you know, what about the labels on the sandwiches? We don't want homeless people queuing up at 5 o'clock when we close to buy our sandwiches. So you'd rather put them in a landfill. Yeah. And so I got in trouble for doing this. I got caught sneaking carrier bag loads of sandwiches out to go and feed homeless people in the city centre. So that's how evil corporations and managers are, that they would rather see food and slops go to waste than actually go and feed people who need it. And that's the kind of world that we're living in. And that's what upsets me. So if someone's going to go to the effort of producing all this food, why are they going to throw it away? Why should we throw it away? Why should it go back into the ground in the form of decomposition? Now, if we're just throwing the sandwich away into the ground for decomposition, might be a bit better. But the fact that we're throwing it away and wrapped in plastic, it's probably not even going to get to decompose and feed the worms properly, is it? Given that plastic takes about 450 years to decompose in the ground. Alright? I mean, here's another one, halal production. I'm sorry to say, look, but if you've got a problem with halal production, then stop eating curry and kebab. You fucking EDL, BNP idiots who go on about, oh, halal and it's inhumane. Because I'll tell you this, right, I get more for my money meat that's not been pumped with roids, yeah, when I go to the Muslim store, and the chicken's twice the size of the chicken that you will get over at the Lidl and the Aldi and the Tesco and the Asda and all that. And it ain't wrapped in plastic, and it lasts just as long, it tastes just as good. It's just been killed in a different way. Someone said a prayer for it. That's fine. There's so much propaganda out there against halal, and most of the propaganda against halal production is by white neo-fascists on the right wing. Majority of them are not by people who are sort of in the middle or impartial. You know, it's not by people who are professional butchers or abattoirs who will go and have a look for themselves and say, oh well, you know, I don't think your production's very good. Yes, there might be halal stores that are not producing the meat properly or killing it properly, might be a minority, and then people are taking that as a gospel that all halal is like that. It's not true. It's absolutely not true. You could get you know, haram, which is non-Muslim food. You can get haram that's been raised and killed in an inhumane way. Nobody said a prayer for it. Alright, so get your facts straight. Where are we? So what can we do in terms of reducing our impact on the earth? We can recycle stuff properly. I don't know, maybe to get a bird of prey to go and catch you some rabbits, a couple of ferrets, you know, fill your backyard with crops and a couple of beehives. Lobby the government to use to grow hydroponic towers on the outskirts of the city instead of washing away our arable land. Okay, use your bins properly for recycling. You know, be careful where you put in your plastics. Don't fill your fridge with all the stuff that you're not going to eat. Buy what you need. I think there's something like the average family throws away 60 quid of food a week in the United Kingdom, which is quite a lot. I mean, I won't throw nothing away because I've been poor that many years. I've been a peasant and I've eaten some of the most rancid food, but now I manage my food really well. And if this means I have to go shopping every day, then I will. I feel guilty when I throw stuff away into the bin, alright? Especially if it's stuff that's in plastic that I have to throw away. Bread, for example, if it's bread that goes off that I didn't get to eat and it starts going blue, I'll take that bread out, I'll put that bread in the bin, and then I'll put the plastic in the recycling and try and be as conscientious as I can as to the impact that I'm having on the planet and try and reduce my carbon footprint. Alright? Some people on this planet that could reduce their carbon footprint by just shutting up. That would be a better idea, you know, because there's a lot of people who are talking a lot of meaningless crap. All these musicians out at the minute, they should probably just duct tape their mouth up, you know what I mean? They're taking up valuable oxygen, pumping out rubbish into the air, do you know what I mean? Something else we could do. Oh, hang on, I've missed a line. Yeah, I was going to say, seeing people throw stuff on the street that's not, you know, it annoys me. It's scruffy and it's toxic. I was waiting for the bus the other day. I seen some yob walk past and just throw a beer can as hard as he could. That ends up somewhere, you know. Not always the case that the council come and pick it up. You never know from where I was. It could have like blown down the street over the space of a month or something. Ends up in the River Tyne, gets washed out to sea. Toxins come out of that beer can in the North Sea. Poison fish. You know, that Chava's mouth that was around it spreads some disease and gives the fish 3 eyes or whatever. You know, I'm exaggerating, but come on. Annoys me when I see people walk down the street and just doss rubbish. Like I say all the time, we're heading into an abyss and people have got no respect. If there ain't a bin near me and I'm walking around with something, I'll carry it until I see a bin. If I don't see a bin, I'll keep it in my pocket till I get home. Come on, have some respect for where you live and have some respect for the environment. So what could we do? Well, we could invest in wind turbines. There are companies where you can invest personally in a wind turbine. We can invest in solar panels. It's not within everyone's power to have solar panels in their roof, but that's something else you could look at, alright? We can stop using gas. Might be a better option. There must be a better option than gas. Alright, extracting it from the ground. Fracking, we can stop with that. Don't drive 10 minutes down the road to the shop, because it's needless. Get off your lazy arse and walk down there. If it takes you 20 minutes, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Think about what you're pumping out. Don't throw clothes away needlessly. Buy old stuff and antiques that work just fine, okay? Become aware of consumerism and really realise, you know, stuff like glass takes 1 million years to decompose in the ground. Plastics take 450 years to decompose. I don't know, this is all open for discussion. Like, I want you to go to bed tonight and sort of give it some consideration. And like I say to you all the time, I don't have all the answers. I only ever try and tickle your intellectual pickle and make you think a bit deeper about who you are, who we are, what we can do, as a species to be better for each other and try and maintain this planet for future generations, and to look after our biosphere, you know, because we've only got one planet, and we need to be aware, you know, acid rain, deforestation, desertification, pollution. We've got to stop suffocating in the smog. We're going to need to stop drinking fetid, dirty, toxic water, and realise that all that carbon we're pumping out that's locked into the trees, we're cutting them trees down, and it's going to release all that carbon back out. Mother Nature's pissed off. Alright, we can see this at the minute. In 1 hectare of rainforest there are more species, this is the Amazon, yeah? In 1 hectare of Amazon rainforest there are more species than there is in the whole of Europe. And we're cutting down that forest before we even get a chance to explore it. There's cures for everything in the forest, and that's people's homes, that's animals' homes, and we're cutting it down before we can even really examine the flora and fauna of what lives there. Do you understand? And what you got to realise as well is that deforestation causes a cascade effect, which is like a knock-on effect into other ecosystems. Because what happens is then you get more salts and minerals coming out of the ground being washed away because there's no trees there to soak it up. It then goes into the Amazon basin, which then goes into the sea, and this goes around in a spiral in the planet. Alright, the Gobi Desert in China is growing by 36,000 kilometres a year, which that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. Desertification. So I had this idea years ago how I could flood the desert and grow a jungle in it, and I spoke to some scientists and they just laughed at me. Ha! Who do you think you are, God? Well, not really, but you know, we've got to come up with something, haven't we? Because not only are people starving, but sea levels are rising, aren't they? So the deserts are growing as a result of this, and sea levels are rising, and the ice is melting, you know, and you've got more forest and grass fires than there's ever been in the space of a year, and it's increasing. I mean, do I have a solution? No, to come up with a solution is impossible because there's so many angles to it. Alright, but climate change is happening. We are destroying this planet. Do not deny it. You know, grow up, understand, open your eyes, stop being asleep. Okay. My idea to flood the desert is that we would desalinate the seas. I've got a technology that I've come up with to do it. But like I say, who's going to listen to me? I've tweeted Elon Musk with this idea. I've said, hey Elon, I got this idea to grow a jungle in the desert, and you're the only person who's crazy enough to listen to me. Might help you with your colony on Mars if you want to give me a message and we'll chat about it. Whether or not he picks up the tweet or bothers to get back to me or not, you know, that will remain to be seen. But I did think about this, you know, let's use our wisdom and technology to improve the planet we're on before we decide to go and colonise Mars. If there ain't no Earth to save, then what's the point setting up another planet? Will we even get to that point where we can colonise another planet if we destroy the world that we're on? I mean, rockets use, I think it's something like an Olympic-sized swimming pool of petrol every minute, and it takes 8.5 minutes to get up there. We're burning fossil fuels to do that. Do you think electric cars are better for the environment? No, don't be stupid. Because somewhere, someone still had to generate that electricity, probably by fossil fuels, for that electricity to get into your car. So yeah, it might make the city less full of smog and pollution, but in the long run, is it really any better, considering how many times you have to charge up that electric car? God, I had a girlfriend with an electric car. It was so annoying. We went to Scotland in it, to Edinburgh. 5 times, man, we charged it to get there. Oh, we broke up after. I think spending 16 hours in the car with her was enough for us to be finished, like driving around everywhere looking for a charge point. I never ever want to go in another electric car in my life until such time that electric cars work as efficiently in terms of filling the tank or whatever. Stupid idea, you know. Is it really better for the atmosphere if you got to charge it 5 times to get to Edinburgh? Probably not. Alright, so further listening, well, there's loads you can do. I posted a link earlier on my profile page called Man, and that's a little animation about what we're doing. It's quite scary, even though it's done in a comical way. There's a good film called Zeitgeist Part 2. Zeitgeist Part 1's good, but this one's more about the environment, and it's got a guy called Jack Fresco and the Venus Project. And this guy's full of amazing ideas for sustainable life in the future, on how we can build things a bit better, more efficiently, how transport can be more efficient, how we can have hydroponics towers on the edges of the city that are feeding us, all sorts of ways. Okay, lots of ideas for the future about humanity and how it can change. See, cities under the sea, cities on top of the sea. You know, we can't carry on the way that we're going. Things are spiraling out of control. We're heading for the abyss. So I don't really have any shout outs for this week, just the shout outs for those who bother to watch me. Shout out to all of those who I love. Shout out to DJ Vix J on Demon FM for giving me my weekly dose of inspiration, because I normally write this on a Thursday from 8 PM till 10 while I'm listening to Vix on Demon FM. So it puts me in a calming mood to be able to focus on the topic in hand. What we up to, episode 7 now. Just a heads up, episode 10 is going to be a music special. So it's going to be a bit more, how should we say, optimistic. Episode 10 is going to be a bit more optimistic. Next week I'm talking about time travel, and the way that we see time. We're going to sort of go back to the Anthony Peake discussion with deja vu and timelines. We're going to talk about the potential for time travel, etc. I'm not going to give you too much on that. I hope I can make it long enough. Today's episode, we're currently up to about 37 minutes, so I'm probably going to cut it short. And as always, I will say I love you very much, and thank you very much for tuning in. Hope that I haven't offended anybody today with my point of view about being a carnivore. Like I said, I'm pro-choice, and it's just bouncing ideas around. Okay, if you want to tune in to the music that was at the start, you'll find that on Medicine Media UK. One of them's called World Without Love, and the other one is called Point of No Concern. It's